You know that feeling, right? Test pops up on the calendar. Testing, like this big bad thing in education.
Yeah, for sure. It does have kind of a negative connotation, doesn't it?
Big time. But what if I told you that actually practice testing, one of the best ways to learn?
Oh, interesting. So, like, turning the thing we kind of dread into a real tool.
Exactly. And that's what we're getting into today. This research by Catherine Rawson and John Dunlosky, they published it in the Educational Psychology Review, all about when practice testing really shines, like how to make that knowledge stick around.
So, durable learning.
Yeah, durable learning and doing it, without like spending every waking hour studying.
Efficient, too. That's a good combo.
Right. So we're going to break down their findings for everyone listening. How to use practice testing to just learn smarter, basically.
Makes sense. And, it's important to mention this isn't just some new, untested idea. Rawson and Dunlosky, they're building on, like, a mountain of research, decades of studies, hundreds of them, showing the real impact of practice testing.
It's not just a lab thing either.
No, definitely not. They've seen this work in real classrooms, too, so it's pretty well established that it works.
Which makes it even weirder that more teachers and students aren't all over this.
Yeah, you'd think it'd be, like, the default strategy, right?
Right. So maybe there's that negative feeling about tests that we talked about. Or maybe people just aren't sure how to do it right.
Could be. A lot of nuances, maybe.
For sure. And that's why we're here. We're going to go beyond just practice testing is good. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the practical stuff. How can you use this to your advantage?
Let's do it.
Okay, so first things first, test-enhanced learning. What does that even mean? What have researchers actually found?
Well, the typical experiment goes like this. You get some people learning something new. Then one group, they do a practice test. The other group, they don't. And pretty consistently, the practice test group, they do way better on the final test.
But here's the thing, right? Some people are going to say, well, duh, they saw the material again during practice. Like, it's just restudying, right?
That's a good point. But they've actually compared practice testing directly to restudying, like head to head.
What happens?
Practice testing still wins, even if you spend the same amount of time just rereading. Like actually trying to pull that info from your brain, it makes a difference.
So it's not just seeing it again, it's that active effort, huh?
Yeah. And often the best ways to combine them. Do practice tests, then restudy.
Oh, so you see what you messed up on during the practice, then really focus when you study again.
Exactly. And speaking of messing up, feedback is huge. Like, if you get something wrong on the practice test, getting the correct answer, even if it's a bit later, it helps you unlearn that mistake.
So it's not just about cramming everything in, it's about like refining your understanding.
Totally. Now, some people might think, okay, this sounds good for college kids, but what about everyone else?
Right, like is this just a student thing?
Nope, not at all. It's really amazing, actually. They've seen benefits across, like, all ages. Little kids, older adults. Practice testing helps. Doesn't matter if you're in school, learning new job skills, or just curious about something.
So lifelong learning, it's got a place there too.
Exactly. Now, what about the material itself? People might think, this works for vocab lists, but not for, like, super complicated stuff.
Right, like understanding big concepts or something.
It's not limited to simple memorization at all. It's actually great for more complex stuff. Long texts, diagrams, maps. They've seen benefits there too.
So it's not just memorizing facts, you can actually understand things better.
Yeah, it's like it improves your overall grasp. You can apply the knowledge. You can figure out related stuff that wasn't on the practice test. Builds a network in your brain.
Really impressive. And it doesn't fade away quickly either, right?
No, that's the best part. This isn't just a quick boost. These benefits can last for weeks, even months. And get this, the advantage of practice testing over other methods. It often increases over time.
So you actually forget less.
You got it. It's like building a solid foundation. Now, Rawson and Dunlosky, they didn't just stop there. They wanted to know, how do we get the most out of this?
Like fine-tuning it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we already talked about combining practice with restudy. That's key.
Got it. What else matters?
Well, the type of practice test you use makes a difference. Retrieval practice is generally better.
Retrieval practice. What's that exactly?
So imagine a fill-in-the-blank question. You have to pull that information from your memory. That's retrieval. Versus like a multiple choice question where you just have to recognize the right answer.
So harder is better.
In a way, yeah. Even if the final test is multiple choice, doing retrieval practice helps you learn more deeply.
Makes your brain work harder.
Exactly. Then there's how often you practice. More is usually better, but And this is important, the timing is crucial. Spaced practice beats cramming every time.
Spaced practice. So, like, don't study everything all at once.
Right. Spread it out, do some practice, take a break, do more practice, or study one day, then again a few days later. That spacing really helps you remember things long term. It leads to what they call distributed test restudy, which combines spaced retrieval practice with restudying. That's like the gold standard.
The best of the best. So now we know how to practice effectively, but how much is enough?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We want durable learning, but we also don't have unlimited time. So their research was all about finding that sweet spot.
They did those experiments with like psych terms and stuff, right?
Yeah. Definitions of concepts from intro psych textbooks, things like just world hypothesis or episodic memory. And they also use middle school math and science terms like mode, allele, erosion. Those fundamental building blocks.
Makes sense. So how did they measure how well people were learning? You mentioned learning to criterion earlier.
Right. Learning to criterion basically means you keep practicing until you can recall the information correctly. So in these experiments, they looked at two main things. First, how many times someone had to recall a definition correctly in the beginning, either just once or 3 times in a row.
Okay, so like how much initial practice they did?
Exactly. And then second, they looked at how many relearning sessions people did, like coming back and practicing again later.
Interesting. So not just how well you learn it the first time, but also what happens when you revisit it.
Exactly. They did a bunch of experiments, but let's focus on one with 335 undergrads. They learned 2 sets of concepts with these different practice schedules and 2 other sets as a baseline, just from their regular classes, no extra practice.
Okay, so like a control group.
Yeah, to see what happens without the focused practice. So for the initial learning, they read from textbooks, study the target concepts and definitions. Then they used a computer program for practice. They'd see the concept like, what is episodic memory? They have to type the definition. Then they'd see the correct answer and could restudy if needed. If they got it wrong, that concept would come up again later.
And this is where they change things up, right? Some practice till 1 correct recall, others till 3.
Exactly. Then, starting 2 days later, they did those relearning sessions. They'd take a practice test, try to recall the definitions, then restudy each concept until they could get it right once. And the key difference was how many of these relearning sessions they did. Some did 1, some 2, all the way up to 5.
Okay, I'm following. So final tests 1 month and 4 months later, both the practice concepts and the baseline ones, all cued recall.
Exactly. So let's talk results. What happened with that initial learning criterion? Did practicing to 3 recalls make a big difference long term?
That's what I'm curious about.
Well, at first it did seem like a benefit. Like on a test right before the relearning sessions, the 3 recall group did better. About 73% correct versus 58% for the 1 recall group.
So extra effort up front seemed to help.
It did initially, but here's the kicker. As they did more relearning sessions, that advantage faded. By the last relearning session, the 1 recall group had caught up. And on the final tests, 1 month and 4 months later, the initial criterion barely mattered. Like tiny difference, often not even statistically significant.
Wow, so pushing for those extra recalls initially didn't really pay off long term, especially if they were going to do relearning anyway.
That's the takeaway. As long as you can recall it correctly once at the beginning, doing more doesn't seem to matter much if you do the relearning.
What about the time spent? Did the 3 recall group save time in those relearning sessions?
A little bit in the first one. They spent like 1.6 minutes per concept versus 2.1 for the 1 recall group. But that initial time saving didn't totally make up for the extra time spent in the beginning. Overall, the 3 recall groups still spent about 1 extra minute per concept across all the sessions.
So not a huge time saver.
No, not really.
Hmm.
Okay, so getting it right once initially is important, but drilling beyond that, maybe not the best use of time if you're planning to do relearning.
Got it. Let's dive into those relearning sessions. They seem to be where the magic happens.
Oh, they're definitely key. The results were striking, like
Yeah.
doing 3 relearning sessions instead of just 1. 60% increase in performance on the 1-month test, and 5 sessions versus 1, 86% increase at 1 month, 64% at 4 months.
Whoa, those are some serious gains. So coming back to the material really makes it stick.
Absolutely. And think about those final test scores. Even months later, with a tough test format, the groups with more relearning sessions, they remembered so much. They also compared this to the baseline group, the ones who just saw the concepts in class, no practice. Those students only recalled about 11% on the final tests. Huge difference.
Night and day. Relearning is a game changer.
Totally. And get this, the time spent per relearning session, it actually goes down. Like the first one takes longer, but by the fifth, they were zipping through.
Makes sense. You get better at remembering each time.
Right. And when they looked at the total time spent across all sessions, those extra relearning sessions, they didn't add a ton of time, considering the massive benefits.
Efficient and effective.
Right. Plus, after that 1-month test, the students who did more relearning, they relearned any forgotten stuff way faster, like they had a stronger foundation.
Makes you think differently about studying. It's not just for the test next week. It's about building something that lasts.
I like that. Oh, and they compared two specific groups. One did 3 initial recalls, then just 1 relearning session. The other did just 1 recall, but then 3 relearnings. The 1 recall, 3 relearning group spent only 2 minutes more total, but their scores were way better, and they relearned faster too.
So focusing on relearning is where it's at.
It really seems that way. And this wasn't just a college student thing. They did a study with 8th graders learning stats, and they found the same thing. More relearning sessions, better retention, and the time spent went down each time.
So it's a general principle.
It seems to be. And they're even testing this in real college classes now. Intro psych courses, where students practice half of the concepts using this method, and they're tracking exam scores. Early results are super promising. Students are doing better on the stuff they practiced, even though the practice is different from the exam format.
So this could help with both long-term learning and with doing well on tests.
Exactly. So what's the bottom line, and what are the main takeaways from all of this?
Well, practice testing is clearly a winner, especially retrieval practice, combined with restudy and spread out over time. And those relearning sessions, they're not just extra credit, they're essential.
Totally. Rawson and Dunlosky are really pushing for more relearning, and I think they're right. Now, about that initial learning phase, how much practice is enough in the beginning?
What's their advice there?
Practice at least until you get it right once. That's their strongest recommendation. Going beyond that, it's less clear. It might help a little, but it might not be worth the extra time. Plus, drilling too much can make you bored, and that's bad for motivation later.
Nobody wants to study if it's a drag. So what about those relearning sessions? What are the key points there?
This is where they get more specific. Relearning is super valuable, both short-term and long-term. It takes less time each time you do it, and it might even be less boring than initial learning. As for the number of sessions, they suggest at least 3. But they're honest. The ideal number might vary for different people and situations.
So more research is needed.
Yeah, especially on the timing between sessions. Now, they also address a real challenge. How do you know if you've truly recalled something correctly, especially with complex stuff?
It's not always black and white.
You might think you know it,
Right.
but maybe you're missing key details. So they used idea units to give feedback, like breaking down the correct definition into its core components. Students could then compare their answers to these idea units and see exactly what they got right and wrong.
So it's more detailed feedback, helps you be honest with yourself.
Exactly. And students can even learn to create these idea units themselves. No fancy tech needed.
That's a great tip. So they're really focused on manipulating both that initial criterion and the relearning, which is cool. But they also say that even if you don't follow their exact methods, any practice testing is better than none. They even cite research on weekly quizzes and low-stakes review quizzes that show positive results. So the big picture message, teachers and students, use practice testing more.
It's a simple, powerful tool.
So, to wrap up this deep dive, practice testing, especially retrieval practice, with restudy, spaced out, and with relearning, that's how you make learning stick. Those relearning sessions are key for long-term retention and making your study time really count.
Absolutely. It's about changing how we think about testing. It's not just about grades. It's a powerful way to learn.
So for everyone listening, think about this. How can you fit more of this spaced retrieval practice into your life? What can you tweak in your routine? It might make a bigger difference than you think.
Couldn't agree more. Little changes can lead to big results when it comes to learning.